There's a specific kind of frustration that almost no one names out loud. Someone close to you asks what's wrong, and you try to explain. You find the words, the right words even. You arrange them carefully, you say them in the right order, and when you finish, you can see in their face that they understood something, a shape of what you meant, a reasonable approximation. But somewhere between what you said and what you actually experienced, something got lost. Not because you chose the wrong words. You know this because even as you were speaking, you could feel the gap opening, the unbridgeable distance between the experience and the report of the experience, between the thing and its description. Most people, if they notice this at all, assume it's a language problem, that the vocabulary doesn't have the right word yet, or that you didn't find it. So you try again from a different angle. You use metaphors. You say, "It felt like," and reach for comparisons. And the comparisons help, slightly, the way a photograph of a place helps someone imagine being there, while making absolutely clear that imagining it and being there are two entirely different things. The photograph is accurate. The photograph is not the place. And with experience, the gap between the record and the thing seems even wider, because the photograph doesn't know it's missing anything, and you do. You feel the absence of the real thing in the description of it. What if the gap isn't a language problem? Consider the possibility that the distance between experience and description isn't a failure of communication, but something more fundamental, something built into the very structure of what experience is. That no description of any experience, however precise, however technically complete, could ever fully capture what the experience actually is to the one living it. That the ceiling on explanation isn't a temporary limitation waiting for a better vocabulary. That it's a permanent feature of the territory itself. This is not a poetic question. It's not mysticism. It is, in fact, one of the most seriously contested problems in contemporary philosophy and science, taken up by some of the most rigorous thinkers alive, debated in academic journals and at the edges of neuroscience research. And 30 years after it was given a formal name, it remains stubbornly, almost insultingly, open. The scientists and philosophers who work on it are not failing. The problem is simply that kind of problem. The name is the hard problem of consciousness. And the reason it carries that word, hard, is precise. It's not hard the way a difficult equation is hard, where the difficulty lives in the complexity of the calculation and yields to enough effort. It's hard because it might be the kind of problem that doesn't get solved, only deepened, only more clearly seen for what it is. Before anything else can be said, you need to understand what makes it different from every other unsolved question in science. Because that difference is everything, and it lives closer to you than you might expect. It lives, in fact, in the only place you've ever been certain you exist, inside your own experience of being here. Part of what makes that gap so strange is how thoroughly everything else seems explainable. The brain is extraordinary. This is worth saying plainly, without irony, before complicating anything. Right now, without your direction or even your awareness, your brain is calibrating the tension in dozens of muscles to keep you upright. It's filtering out the sound of your own heartbeat so it doesn't crowd out everything else. It's running continuous predictions about what your eyes will see half a second from now, adjusting constantly as new information arrives. It is doing this right now, as you read, without any instruction from whatever part of you feels like the part that's in charge. The machinery is staggering in its complexity, and increasingly, science can read it. Neuroscientists can watch a brain and, from the pattern of electrical activity alone, predict what a person is about to do before the person knows they're about to do it. They can identify with remarkable accuracy the moment a memory surfaces. They can watch the neural signature of recognition, of a familiar face, a remembered piece of music, lighting up in real time. In recent decades, researchers have identified which regions activate during grief, during curiosity, during the specific kind of attention you pay to a problem you care about. They have mapped the brain at scales that were unimaginable a generation ago. None of this is small. It represents centuries of accumulated inquiry, refined instruments, and genuine intellectual courage. The project of understanding the brain from the outside, mapping its circuits, tracing its signals, identifying what regions activate under what conditions, has produced real knowledge. Knowledge that helps people who are suffering. Knowledge that was once completely inaccessible and is now, in meaningful ways, in the hands of doctors and researchers doing consequential work. The philosopher David Chalmers, writing in 1995, acknowledged all of this fully. He called these achievements and the questions they address the easy problems of consciousness. The word easy is his term, and he uses it technically. Easy here means tractable, solvable in principle, even if not yet in practice. They're the kind of problems where better tools, more data, and sufficient time will eventually yield answers. The question of how the brain integrates information from different sensory channels, tractable. How attention works, why sleep exists, how memory consolidates during rest, tractable, tractable, tractable. Hard in the way a mountain is hard to climb, enormous effort, a long path, genuine danger in places, but a summit you can point to from where you stand. The direction is clear. The effort is known. The problem is the kind that yields to persistence. What Chalmers pointed to was a different kind of problem entirely. Even if you solved every easy problem, every single one completely with perfect precision, something would remain unexplained. Something so obvious it tends to go unnoticed until it's pointed at directly. Something that turns out, once you see it, to be not a small gap at the edges of scientific knowledge, but a canyon running straight through the center of it. Why does any of this feel like anything at all? Sit with that question for a moment before moving past it. Your brain processes the light reflecting off this screen. The processing can be described in full: photons hitting retinal cells, signals traveling along the optic nerve, visual cortex regions activating in sequence, patterns being matched against stored representations. The entire chain, mechanical and traceable. Now, alongside all of that processing, there is something it is like to see these words. A quality of experience, what philosophers call qualia, from the Latin for what sort, that exists nowhere in the chain's description. Read that description back to yourself and you would find no experience in it, only mechanism. And here is where the question that opened this conversation finds its real answer. The gap between what you feel and what you can say runs deeper than vocabulary. Description and experience are different in kind, not just in detail, and no amount of precision on one side closes the distance to the other. This is the hard problem. The question isn't why the brain processes information, it's why that processing is accompanied by subjective experience at all. Why there is an inside to it. Why it feels like something to be the system doing the processing rather than simply being a system processing. The way a thermostat registers temperature without there being anything it's like to be a thermostat sensing cold. The thermostat responds. It does not experience. What makes you different in the most fundamental sense is that you do. Pause here for a moment with what qualia actually means in practice. The specific quality of the color red, as seen, not as measured. The felt difference between silence after music and silence before it. The weight of a memory arriving unexpectedly in the middle of an ordinary afternoon. the particular character of a taste you've had once and can still, years later, almost reconstruct. But only almost. And you know the almost from the inside. These are the substance of experience itself, what it is made of, entirely. And they are completely, stubbornly absent from any physical account of the events that give rise to them. Chalmers is not saying science hasn't worked hard enough, or that the instruments aren't sensitive enough, or that neuroscience needs another century to close the gap. He's making a more precise and, in some ways, more unsettling claim. The explanatory tools of physical science are designed to describe the world from the outside, to characterize what systems do, how they function, what mechanisms produce what behaviors. These tools are excellent at what they do. Consciousness, by its nature, only exists from the inside. The inside is not another location. It's a different kind of access altogether. No accumulation of third-person descriptions adds up to a first-person experience. The gap is built into the kind of language science, by necessity, uses, a language of description, not a language of being. This is the place where even deeply skeptical thinkers tend to stop and go quiet. The argument doesn't require you to believe in anything supernatural. It doesn't ask you to abandon science or to retreat into mysticism. It asks only that you look honestly at what physical description does and doesn't contain, and notice that the most immediate, undeniable feature of your existence is nowhere in it. In 1982, a philosopher named Frank Jackson published a thought experiment that remains, 40 years later, one of the cleanest ways of making the hard problem visible that has ever been constructed. Think for a moment about what it would mean to know everything about something. Every measurement, every mechanism, every causal chain, mastered completely. Then imagine a scientist named Mary. Mary is the world's leading expert on the neuroscience and physics of color vision. She knows the precise wavelengths of light that correspond to each color across the visible spectrum. She knows the exact neural pathways activated when the human eye encounters red, which cells in the retina respond, which fibers carry the signal, which regions of the visual cortex light up in what sequence. She knows what distinguishes the neural response to red from the response to orange or violet, and why those differences produce different perceptual reports. She could write the definitive textbook on the subject. She has effectively every physical fact there is to know about what happens in a human being who sees any color. There's one detail about Mary's life, though. She has spent her entire existence inside a black and white room. Every book she read, every screen she worked from, every surface she has ever touched or seen, black, white, and gradations of gray. She has never, in her entire life, seen color. One day, the door opens. Mary walks out and for the first time sees a red apple sitting on a table in ordinary light. And here is the moment that matters. Here, in front of this apple, with all of her knowledge intact, something arrives that none of her textbooks contained. You can feel the shape of it. You know, without needing to be told, that she is learning something. Jackson's question is precise. Does Mary learn something new? The answer that arrives for almost everyone who encounters this, philosopher or not, familiar with the debate or not, is immediate. Yes, of course she does. She learns what red looks like, what it is to see it, the specific, irreducible quality of redness as an experience, the qualia of red, the thing that exists on the other side of all the wavelength measurements and neural pathway charts. She had every physical fact available to a human being, organized and mastered, and still, standing in front of that apple, something arrived that none of those facts contained. Jackson described what Mary gains as phenomenal knowledge, knowing what an experience is like from inside the experience itself. His argument is clean and hard to escape. If Mary learns something new when she sees red for the first time, then her total physical knowledge was, in some genuine sense, incomplete. There are facts about experience that physical facts don't capture. The incompleteness isn't a gap in her research, it's a gap in the kind of facts physical science can, in principle, ever provide. Some philosophers have pushed back hard on Jackson's thought experiment. They've argued that Mary doesn't learn a new fact, she gains a new ability, a new way of recognizing red. Others say the intuition that she learns something is itself the cognitive illusion that needs to be dissolved. These are serious objections, seriously debated. What's striking is that the debate has never resolved, that brilliant people spending careers on this question still cannot reach consensus on whether Mary learns something new. That irreducible disagreement, at this level of rigor and precision, is itself a sign of where the problem lives. When the sharpest minds can't agree on something this basic, the question is telling you something about itself. Bring it back to somewhere smaller than a thought experiment. Back to you, in your actual life, in the relationships you have with actual people. Every person you've ever been close to is, in some sense, in Mary's position relative to your inner life. They can observe everything about you that is observable. They can read your words, watch your face, notice the way you hold your body when something is wrong. A neurologist with perfect instruments could map your brain state with complete accuracy. Every firing neuron, every chemical gradient, every electrical pattern in every moment. And all of that, taken together, would still not give them what you have automatically. Access to what it is to be you, from inside being you, experiencing what you're experiencing as you experience it. That access is yours exclusively. It has always been yours exclusively. It isn't something that greater intimacy or greater scientific sophistication will ever dissolve. This is not a comforting thought dressed up as philosophy. The irreducibility of your inner life is a structural feature of reality, a genuine asymmetry between how you relate to your own experience and how anyone or anything else ever can. First person and third person are two different kinds of access entirely, pointing in different directions, neither reducible to the other. Physical science, which is built on third-person description, on what can be observed, measured, repeated, tested, reaches everything except the inside of the inside. If you've stood in that gap, if you've felt the thing this is pointing at, you'll recognize it in every attempt to explain something you felt, watching the explanation fall short by exactly the distance you knew it would. In every moment of understanding intellectually that someone was in pain, while knowing, with that strange, honest knowledge, that you couldn't actually be inside it with them. Something crosses the gap in those moments. Empathy is real, and it does something genuine. But the full texture of what another person is experiencing from inside the experiencing, that stays behind the boundary. Always. A feature of what experience is, rather than a failure of love or attention. Science is not failing when it can't resolve this. It's doing precisely what it was designed to do, mapping the world from outside with rigor and care. The problem is that you are not outside your own experience. You are irretrievably inside it, in a way no instrument will ever be. That's not an obstacle waiting to be overcome by a better theory. That's what it means to be a being who experiences anything at all. The inside is not a feature of your brain that science hasn't located yet. It's a different category of existence from the things science locates. And if you've ever tried to explain how something felt and heard your own explanation fall short of what you meant, you have always known this, without these words for it. That gap you feel with the people closest to you, the one no amount of love or attention fully closes, is the same gap that philosophers have been trying to name for 400 years. What changes between your living room and the academic journals isn't the gap itself, only the vocabulary around it. The hard problem has had a formal name for 30 years. Before that, it existed under other names: the explanatory gap, the mind-body problem, the question philosophy has carried for centuries without being able to pass it on differently. Some of the most careful thinkers alive have spent entire careers on it. They have not closed it. The debate is not converging toward consensus. If anything, the more precisely the problem gets articulated, the more clearly the depth of the difficulty becomes visible. Some philosophers remain convinced that experience will eventually be explained in physical terms, that the intuition something gets left out is itself a sophisticated cognitive mistake, and a better theory will dissolve it rather than solve it. Some argue that consciousness is fundamental, like space or time, woven into the structure of what exists rather than produced by any particular arrangement of matter. Some conclude that the question itself is malformed, that asking, "Why does experience feel like something?" is like asking, "What's north of the North Pole?" And some, a quieter group, less visible in the literature precisely because certainty publishes better than honest bewilderment, simply sit with the open question and find that position more intellectually honest than any of the confident alternatives. What each of those positions shares is striking. None of them can reach, from the outside, what it's like to be you right now, reading this sentence. That experience, your particular qualia of this moment, remains exactly as inaccessible to their theories as it ever was. Sitting with the question openly, without forcing a resolution, is a kind of precision, refusing to close what hasn't actually closed. What Chalmers gave language to, and what Jackson made vivid, is not the end of inquiry. It's a precise picture of where inquiry hits something it wasn't built to penetrate. The gap between physical description and felt experience isn't a temporary embarrassment in an otherwise advancing science. It's a feature of what experience is. Its irreducible first-person character. Its existence only from inside itself. Its complete invisibility to any description that approaches it from the outside. You have been this mysterious thing your entire life. Not as an abstract philosophical position, as a daily, lived, unquestioned fact. Every person you've ever met has been equally mysterious, in the same way, at exactly the same depth. The grief someone sat with alone in a room last night, the exact texture of it, what it was like from inside it, exists nowhere else in the universe. It is not recorded anywhere. It passed through one consciousness, and when that consciousness moved past it, that particular experience was gone in a way that nothing physical ever fully disappears. There is something it is like to be you, right now, in this exact moment. Science can describe what's happening in your brain with increasing precision. It cannot touch what that's like. That asymmetry has been true of every experience you've ever had, in every moment of your entire life, without a single exception. Carry that quietly.